They laughed at you. They ignored your presence. They whispered behind your back and said you'd never become anything. But what they didn't see was what God was preparing in silence. While they were mocking, He was molding. While they were rejecting, He was anointing. While they were watching the surface, God was writing a destiny. Beneath it all, you were never a nobody. You were never forgotten. You were a hidden king, a chosen one, a soul that carried oil too sacred to be exposed too early. And now, heaven is placing the crown right in front of their eyes, not behind closed doors, not in secret, but in the open, where every voice that doubted you will fall silent. This isn't just your moment. It's your revelation. The world is about to see what only God always knew. So if you're still breathing, if you're still standing after all you've been through, this message is your confirmation. You are rising now. If this is already piercing your soul, if something in you is awakening, then pause for a moment. Tap the like button as a sign of agreement, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment 99 in the chat. Because Psalm 99 says, "The Lord reigns, let the nations tremble." And when God reigns, nobody can stop what He's about to do through you. Let's go deeper. You gave your all. You poured your heart into places that never honored it. You walked into rooms full of people, but somehow, you still felt invisible. You showed up when no one else did. You stayed loyal when others walked away. You spoke life, love, and light. But what came back was silence. Not because you lacked value, but because they lacked vision. It wasn't that you weren't worthy. It's that they weren't ready to recognize someone God Himself had hidden. And yet, it hurt, didn't it? That quiet kind of pain that builds over time, being passed over, dismissed, underestimated. They chose louder voices. They celebrated shallow talents. They crowned those who conformed and ignored the one who carried true oil, you. But here's what no one tells you. Rejection is not the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the sign that your story is being written by higher hands. God has a strange habit of hiding His greatest treasures in overlooked vessels. Because the more man ignores you, the more heaven reserves you. And while they were busy choosing their favorites, God was setting apart His chosen. You see, man sees the moment, but God sees the mission. They judge your presence, but God discerns your purpose. So don't curse the seasons where you were invisible. Don't despise the years no one clapped for you, because in the silence, God was still watching. In the shadows, He was still speaking. And what He saw in you will not stay hidden forever. They didn't see you, but heaven did. They didn't call your name, but God already wrote it, in places where no human hand can erase it. So don't break under the weight of being overlooked. Break through. Because being unseen by them never meant you were forgotten by Him. And right when they think you've disappeared for good, they'll turn around and see the one they ignored standing in glory. But that's just the beginning. What's coming next will change everything. Are you ready? There's something sacred about silence. Something holy about being hidden. When God hides you, it's never to break you. It's to build you, where the noise of the world can't reach. You weren't buried. You were planted. And every unseen moment was a seed. Yes, the isolation felt suffocating, the prayers unanswered, the dreams delayed. It felt like God was distant, silent, gone. But the truth is, He was closer than ever. Because when God is preparing greatness, He doesn't do it on a stage. He does it in the shadows, where no one can interrupt His process. Every tear you cried in secret, that was heaven's rain watering your purpose. Every night you laid awake asking, "Why am I still waiting?" That was God pulling you deeper, into strength, into maturity, into fire-tested faith that wouldn't collapse under pressure. You see, public elevation requires private formation, and what the world calls delay, God calls design. Your hidden season wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God had to detox you from the need to be seen. Before, He could trust you to be seen by many, because if you rise too soon, you collapse too fast. And the crown you crave can become the curse you carry if your character isn't rooted. So He let you sit in the back, not because you didn't belong at the table, but because He was building your own. He allowed the silence so you could finally hear His voice. He allowed the loneliness so you'd discover that His presence was never gone, just waiting for your attention. That cave you cried in, it was your classroom. That desert you wandered in, it was your training ground. And now, you're not who you used to be. You've grown in secret. You've been tested in fire. And you carry something they won't understand until it's revealed. So I ask you, what if your hidden season is the womb of your greatness? What if the silence was your signal that something divine is forming beneath the surface? Because something is. And when it breaks through, when the appointed time comes, not even the gates of hell will be able to stop it. But stay with me. The next part reveals why the tables are about to turn. God never writes predictable stories. He specializes in plot twists that defy logic and humble pride. When the world sets its eyes on the strongest, the loudest, the most impressive, God chooses the one they never saw coming, the overlooked, the outcast, the underestimated soul hidden in the shadows. David was never invited to the ceremony. He was just a shepherd boy, forgotten by his own father, but chosen by the King of Heaven. And when God said it was time, He bypassed every brother and poured oil on the one no one expected. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, locked away in a prison. His own family betrayed him. But what they meant for evil, God weaponized for glory. Because God's delays are not denials, they're divine reversals. He takes the one they tried to bury and makes them the foundation of something eternal. And now, it's your turn. You were written off. They said you wouldn't make it. They laughed, rolled their eyes, and scrolled past your name. But heaven never did. God is shifting the story. The same mouths that mocked you will be speechless in front of your breakthrough, because this is the season where the rejected become rulers, where the broken become builders, where the quiet soul in the back becomes the voice that leads multitudes. But here's the part they won't expect. You're not coming back the same. You're not just returning. You're returning transformed, refined, unshakable, crowned, and they won't be able to deny it. Not because of your words, but because of the undeniable weight of glory you now carry. God is flipping the script. Not tomorrow. Now. And those who thought they were watching your fall will soon realize they were actually witnessing your rise. But don't blink, because what happens next is the part no one saw coming. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when what was once concealed must be revealed, not for applause, not for ego, but because God is a God of full circle justice. You prayed in silence, you obeyed in private, you carried the weight of your calling quietly, with no audience, no stage, no recognition. But heaven kept the records, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every yes to God when no one else understood the cost. And now, the season of exposure has arrived. The same favor that once whispered over you is about to thunder before many. The same oil that soaked you in silence is about to shine through your presence. Because when God crowns a soul, He doesn't do it halfway. He does it in the open. He does it before every doubter, every mocker, every voice that said, "You'll never make it." He sets the table, not behind closed doors, but in the presence of your enemies. They called you a nobody. They scrolled past your efforts. They misjudged your quiet strength for weakness. But now, the crown is visible. The atmosphere shifts when you walk in. The weight you carry cannot be ignored, not because of who you are, but because of the one who walks with you. You didn't fight for this crown. You were formed for it. And now that it rests on your head, nothing and no one can remove it. Watch how the room changes. Watch how those who once overlooked you start whispering your name in awe. But it's not flattery you're after. It's fulfillment. It's purpose. It's the manifestation of everything God whispered in the dark, now roaring in the light. This is not a promotion. It's a prophecy being fulfilled, and nothing can stop it. The tables are turning. The crown is undeniable, and the next moment in your story will leave everyone breathless. Before they ever labeled you, He already called you. Before they rejected you, He had already set you apart. Before they questioned your worth, He had already written your name into a divine blueprint no human hand can erase. You were never an afterthought. You were never a mistake. You were always chosen. Not chosen because you were the loudest. Not chosen because you fit their mold. Not chosen because you played the part. But because you carried the fire that couldn't be tamed. The purity that couldn't be bought. The faith that couldn't be faked. You didn't need their validation. You already had heaven's seal. Their applause was never your assignment. Their opinion was never your mirror. Because when God chooses someone, He doesn't consult the crowd. He doesn't ask for a second vote. He doesn't wait for the world to agree. He speaks, He anoints, and He moves. And those He calls, He equips. He defends, He raises. Let this burn deep into your soul. You're not stepping into greatness. You were born for it. It's in your bones. It's in your breath. It's in every quiet act of obedience you made when no one else saw. That's why they couldn't destroy you, because they never built you. God did. That's why every setback became fuel for your comeback. Because heaven had already declared your victory. You were chosen before you were strong. You were chosen before you were ready. You were chosen before they had a chance to speak against what God had already approved. And now, you're not becoming who you're meant to be. You're revealing who you've been all along. The crown didn't change you. It revealed you. And the weight you feel now, it's not pressure. It's destiny unfolding. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the unlocking of everything you were secretly born to carry. So hold your head high. You don't owe explanations. You don't need permission. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. You were always chosen, and what happens next will silence every voice that ever doubted it. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them witness, with trembling silence, what God can do with someone they once dared to call a nobody. Because this is what divine reversal looks like. This is what happens when heaven says, "Now it's your time." No more shrinking, no more apologizing. No more hiding behind what others failed to see. You are rising, you are seen, and this time, you won't be hidden. The darkness that once covered you, it was just the soil, and now you're blooming in full view. Unstoppable, unshakable, unapologetically anointed. God is placing the crown, not in secret, but in the presence of every voice that said you'd never make it, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. So walk like the royalty you are. Speak like the chosen one you've always been, and move forward with fire in your soul, because the throne was always yours. You just had to grow into it. Let this moment mark you forever. Let it break every chain of doubt. Let it remind your spirit that you were born for glory, molded in fire, and crowned by the hand of God Himself. Now, type in the comments, "I was never a nobody." Declare it, seal it, speak it into the atmosphere. Let the world hear what heaven already knows, And may every viewer who was overlooked be lifted. May every heart that was rejected be restored. And may God himself crown you with honor, right in front of those who said you'd never make it. Amen.